Hello, good evening, and welcome. You are through to Inview Connect. This is the weekly show on a Wednesday, which is your show, really. It's for your opportunity to have your say, your opinion, what you're doing, how you're getting through lockdown, because this is the third time we've been doing this, and we are only 2 months away from a year of being in lockdowns, basically. We're going to get the COVID bit out of the way, and then we're going to talk about other stuff as well. I've got lots of other news as well. And I want to do something on a Wednesday, which is actually bring in a new segment, because I want to get right away from the news and right away from COVID and everything else. And we're gonna do some spiritual stuff, but I also feel it'd be quite good to bring you some knowledge and wisdom on this show as well. So every week I'm going to be telling you about an unknown country or little known country. And tonight we're going to be talking about Liechtenstein. Try and say that after a few drinks, if you could do that, because of course you can't go to the pub. Gemma Brooks, hello, good evening, and welcome to you. Welcome to the show. And my apologies that the interview was not on Sunday, but we are back as normal next Sunday. This Sunday coming, sorry. And with an amazing guest list, which I'll go through later on. So where are we and what's happening? Well, COVID's been taken off the front pages of the newspapers because it's all about the election, isn't it? Well, I have some very strong views, and that everything on the show, in my view, is only my opinion. And it reflects what I feel within inside myself as a spiritual person, and looking between the weeds of what's going on in this reality and what in truth exists, my truth, if you like. As you can see, if you can see my screen, you can interact with me at any point by ringing my phone number. Here it is, 07403 436 942, or you can text that same number, 07403 436 942. You can Facebook message me, you can Twitter me at Clint Denyer, and WhatsApp me as well. So all lines of communication are open, and very soon, within the next couple of months, we're going to go into another platform, and we're going to stream this out to even further places, to Instagram and Twitter and everywhere. So nobody can actually avoid looking at the Inview or the Inview Connect, basically. Crystal Spree's joined us. Hello, Crystal. How are you? How are you? She says, and she's absolutely right. The circus has a new puppet. Oh God, yes. Well, look. You know, one of the things that really gets on my nerves is the propagandized of what happens in our press. And because, unfortunately, the minions, and I say minions, lots of people that actually just believe what they see or read when they don't actually look at what the people have done. You know, power is corrupt. I watched a little bit of the inauguration ceremony today, and I thought, what a load of pompous rubbish. Because basically, one of the most important things, and being a very spiritual person, I do believe that places are owned by certain people. Now, Biden, Trump, and Bush, and Clinton, all these people don't own America. And the guy was up there saying that we've been doing this since 1799 or wherever it was, every 4 years. Well, actually, it's not your country, by the way. It's Native American Indian land. So you have to get it right for a start. It's not a white man's country. And I'm not being racist in any shape or form. The Native American Indians own that land by actually respecting the land it is on, and respecting the animals, respecting nature. And what did the white man do? They went there and they gave them drugs, gave them drink, gave them guns, and killed thousands and thousands and thousands of them for no reason whatsoever, just sheer greed. So, you know, when they talk about democracy in America, they want to have a good look at themselves, because there is no democracy in America. I mean, they've just elected, bearing in mind that 75 million people didn't, and 78 or 79 million people did, in Joe Biden. Joe Biden's a 78-year-old pensioner that should be nowhere near the White House or the main button that you can press or whatever. I don't feel in any shape or form Joe Biden is fit to govern, let alone be a president of a country. And that's my own opinion. And you know what the press do over here? Because they take great fun out of Trump, because Trump is not part of the establishment. Trump Trump is not part of the elitism. That is the little clubs of clicky skull and bones, or the other awful, bloody awful people that exist in clicky groups in the Democrats or the Republicans in America. He's a businessman and he run it like a business, but he's a fair person as well. And, you know, under Trump, we had no wars. He didn't go to war with anyone. Yes, he pulled troops out, and, you know, unbeknown to a lot of people, he actually saved thousands, 35,000 children from Hunger Games, basically, paedophilia and sexual ritual abuse and all sorts of that as well. None of that is reported, of course, because, you know, what they want to do, they want to look at him a bit like a buffoon. But he's a very clever one because he's made a lot of money and he's a very clever person. I have quite a lot of respect for Trump. I feel that he's done some good things. Yes, he hasn't done all the good things. He hasn't done all the things right. But in relation to being a leader, I feel he tried to lead. And he was a non-conformist, which I feel is good, and it's refreshing in today's world, because what we've got, as Crystal Desprez says, the circus has a new puppet. Yeah, I feel that the whole institution there is wrong. They're all backslapping. They're all standing there saying, what a great democracy we live in. Well, is it really? I actually tell you, it's a load of shit, to be honest. Crystal said, and he actually broke the communication issues with North Korea. Yes, he did. I totally agree. And he actually went and met Kim Jong-un, or whatever his name is. and, you know, sat down with him. And, you know, he would not, you know, he's got all these warmongers around him. One of them is Mike Pompeo. Now, Mike Pompeo obviously will roll over into the new regime, I presume, because he's ramping up pressure. He's defense secretary, and he's going all over the world, particularly going to the big hotspots, if you like. And he's just come back from China, where, unfortunately, him and 23 other people are all in exile from China. They've all been kicked out and can never go back there again. There is something being ramped up here, and I'm telling you this now. There's something being ramped up in relation to Iraq. Sorry, not Iraq, Iran, because I do feel that we are going to have a war with Iran this year. I feel that. I sense that. I feel it's a country they need to go to. There's certain things they need to get there, and they want to break a regime. Now, the problem is when they go to these places, they have no respect to the tradition, the culture, or anything of those places. And I feel that, you know, you look at all countries that are not led well. You look at ours. What a joke. Do you know what I mean? But what really incites me, we haven't even spoke about COVID yet. What about that? How about that? We'll do in a minute. But a front page of a Daily Star newspaper. This epitomizes the ridiculous stupidity of today's press, and how they really get into people's heads to completely assassinate people. Well, they said on their front page, it says, crazy times. Well, that was a weird dream. Bizarre 4-year nightmare that Trump was president, and that he might pardon nutcase Joe Exotic later today. But it's all over now. They're there, back to bed, shush. And he says, how frightening. We had a horrible dream. The very fabric of democracy was ripped apart by a narcissistic loon in the good old US of A. Luckily, we woke up today and it's all over. Actually, you woke up today and you actually have something far worse. You have something far, far worse. And not that I am going to character assassinate Joe Biden, but I can tell you now, that man is a very nasty, dark piece of work. And I would say probably in 78 years old, on the beginnings of a road of Alzheimer's or dementia as well. I do feel I'm just astounded. I'm absolutely astounded. And I can't quite believe that the person actually won that election, because I don't feel he did. I feel it as a con. But this is the front page of a newspaper here. Look at this. This is what they do to an ex-president. Yes, he's been impeached twice. And we've got all that fun to come when they get him into the Senate, or wherever he's going. and he is going to be taken. They are scared stiff he's going to run again. Absolutely scared stiff. They're scared stiff of him actually becoming popular. Now, he is popular because a lot of people relate to him. A lot of people relate to him. Yes, he got things wrong with COVID. Yes, he got things wrong with other things as well. But we're not all perfect, and we do make mistakes. And he does hold his hands up and says he makes mistakes. Do you know what I mean? Gemma says wars are very profitable. Yes, they are. And Biden is one of those people. He's on there saying we're going to unify the people. Tell me how you're going to do that. How are you going to do that? And he's old guard as well. And you know what you're going to get with him. Same as everyone else. Gemma Brooks says the video of him smelling children is creepy. Yeah, yes, it is. There's a lot of stuff on social media of Biden in certain situations with people and children, which I really gives me the creeps, to be honest. I don't think you should be anywhere near anybody, to be honest. I think you need to be put in old people's home and just forget about doing anything like presidency. Chris has said the elites put him in there. They censored Trump and showed exactly who was in control. It wasn't a president. And Gemma said, did anyone see the video of the police just letting people into the Capitol building, the one with the horns hat on? There was no charging of the building. Also, no mention of Antifa. I watched that and I've seen it, and the police did just all back down and they let them run in, basically. Well, one thing that amazes me is that's guarded. That building is guarded by what? 10 police officers on a door? I'm just stunned. We've gone to the extremity today, though, because the inauguration ceremony, 25,000 National Guard troops were there. And obviously, they're, as far as we're aware, because it's not been reported, because they only report the things they want you to see. There hasn't been any rebuff from the Trump camp or the Trump supporters. So, we will wait and see what happens with that. But, it just... I'm sorry, but our world has gone in la la land. It has for a very long time. We are in the la la land of fantasy and where anything can happen because it's whatever they want to manifest. What they got to realize is what they manifest is what we actually manifest against, because all of us out there are people that have great sense of duty, understanding, belief, and a moral discipline and a code of conduct within inside ourselves. Now, those things are really important in today's world because they make us what we are as spiritual people. And I do feel that what they're doing just is not going to work. And they are petrified, terrified, believe me. Crystal Desprez said, all to protect a pensioner. Yeah. Yes, it is, unfortunately. 78 years old. I watched him. He was sitting there breathing, and I'll tell you, I'm just baffled. I really am. Whilst they go on pushing vaccines, I'm going to come to that in a minute. Do you realise, this is an interesting fact, I didn't realise this, that actually Pfizer, behind one of the vaccines, actually also produced Viagra. Pfizer produced Viagra as well. So that's an interesting combination, isn't it? They're doing these vaccines, and bearing in mind these vaccines, I do not feel personally, in my opinion, that they have had enough time to be looked at. It takes years for a vaccine to come in. And in 5 months they've got one, not two, not three, not four, not five. And we've also seen the proof of it so far that it is not going down well with people. You're not necessarily hearing it on the news or whatever, but in Norway only a few days ago there's 23 people that were very badly affected by the vaccines they took. So, I'm not telling you not to take a vaccine, and I'm not condoning anyone that does. But in my opinion, I don't feel they're safe, and I feel the repercussions of taking them we will see in the coming months. Gemma says, it said on the news that Bill Gates owns the most land in the USA. What will he do with it? Well, he'll probably set up FEMA prison camps, and he'll put like what he's doing in Africa, where he actually just infects people and plays with people and uses people as guinea pigs, because that's what they are. And I wouldn't be all surprised that's what he liked to do to us. Bill Gates needs locking up. Bill Gates, I would say, in my opinion, should be locked up and the key thrown away, and he'd never ever sees daylight again. He's a nasty, horrible man, and I feel that he is behind a lot of the problems we have. 2015, Bill Gates was out there promoting coronavirus, or saying what would happen in a pandemic, and talking about coronavirus, and talking about COVID-19, and talking about showing us pictures and images of what potentially could happen, because he's actually showing you. They're very clever, these people. They tell you what's going on. They put it in front of your eyes. Do you know what I mean? Unbelievable. So yes, there's not a lot more to say about. I don't think you heard the last of Trump, and I do feel that it's going to be very, very interesting what goes on in relation to what happens. Gemma says, state on Sky News today that the efficiency of the Pfizer vaccine is lower than what was shown in the clinical trials. Funny that. Yes, it is. Marianne Morris says, I feel they are both full of it. I'm glad Trump is gone. Don't trust any of them. I'm glad QAnon has been exposed for what it is. In America, QAnon takes on a different shape. I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. And that's what this program's about. It's open for all opinions. It's great for you to join us, Mario. Mario's come on the show in not too distant future. So's Crystal as well. If you want to interact with this show, if you have any views, anything you want to say, whether it doesn't matter, you don't have to agree with me. It's whatever you feel you want to say. And whatever else you're doing in lockdown and everything else, this show's your show. No guests on this. It's your show. You can interact with me at any point by ringing 07403 436 942 or text 07403 436 942. And we're going to Facebook. You can Facebook message me or Twitter me at Clint Denyer or WhatsApp me at Clint Denyer. As I said before, we're going to bring something, not only a spiritual segment, but we're going to bring in, I'm going to bring every Wednesday, I'm going to bring in knowledge of a place that is not known very well. So we're going to do a bit of a geography lesson, because I think it'd be fun. And we're going to look at countries that actually not a lot of people go to, and find out a little bit about them. So I think that'd be interesting. Gemma says both bum cheeks are the same arse. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I've got loads and loads to talk about tonight. So, you know, if you want to carry on talking about Trump, please call that number 07403 436 942. But we're going to move on, of course, to the dreaded coronavirus. We've had a lot of different stories, a lot of things, and all I do is trawl through and sift through and find out what's going on. And I bring things to the table. The interview is always about me on a platform giving you knowledge. You might not want it, it might not be your bag, but it's there to open something inside people. Do you know, one of the things that amazes me is that in the last week we had where Matt Hancock was out playing rugby twice with his sons in Hyde Park, and he was out there. Look at him. Here he is. There he is. I think you can see that. There he is, having a good time, jolly good time. Bearing in mind, he isn't wearing a face mask, and neither are all these other people around him. He's out playing rugby with his boys and everything. Matt Cock and Stanley, not Stan Laurel, but it could be, I suppose, Stan and Ollie. That could be Stanley and his son Boris. Says, we live in a free country, and Stanley Johnson backs Matt Cock decision to play rugby twice with his sons in a London park over the weekend. And he now reveals he's self-isolating. His assistant health secretary is right to be in the park with his boys. Stanley Johnson declared, we live in a free country. I'd like to question that statement. We live in a free country. I don't think we do at all, and should be able to do that. And look at the wide open space here. It's not a problem at all. Well, we're in the infinite wisdom of where we're up in a house and be outside in fresh air. Gemma added to that. What about Matt Hancock having the self-isolate over playing sport in groups? Since when has he been an elite athlete? Yeah, I agree. When has he been an elite athlete? Why can't any of the MPs stick to rules themselves and create an order us to comply with? I agree. I totally agree. And the fact is, I watched a little bit of Prime Minister's Question today, and the Tom and Jerry, I call them, really, Boris and the Labour leader, they're standing there, Keir Starmer, and there's a story I'm going to talk about here, which is a terrible story about a load of police records going missing. And he asked him 4 or 5 times, and he still would not come out with an answer. And I mean, I know I'm skirting around the issue a little bit, but I'll just tell you about this because I mean, I'm baffled, I'm shocked, and it's not something I know. It's on the BBC. Of course, we believe everything that's on the BBC. British biased corporation. The government does not know how many cases might be affected by the hundreds of thousands of police records being accidentally wiped, the PM said yesterday. Boris Johnson told the House of Commons the police were working round the clock to rectify the error. Around 400,000 fingerprint, DNA and arrest records were deleted from the police database. Home Secretary Priti Patel said it is not yet known whether any of the data had been permanently lost. Well, it's been wiped. It's gone. So it's not there. So, you know, I mean, unless they backed it up, which obviously none of them have got brain cell in their head to back anything up, it's all gone. And now they're talking about that this could all actually have to be put in manually. Last week it was revealed that the information was wiped from the police national computer. Somebody tell me why and how. How does that happen? Which stores and shares criminal records. I smell a rat. It doesn't smell right at all. After being inadvertently flagged up for deletion. The PNC is used in police investigation and provides real-time checks on people, vehicles and crimes, as well as whether suspects are wanted for any unsolved offences. An estimated 213,000 offence records, 175,000 arrest records, and 15,000 records on people were potentially incorrectly deleted as a result of a defective code. Well, I'm sorry. I don't accept that. That's completely and utterly wrong. Computers don't do it themselves. People have to do things with computers to make it happen. Do you know what I mean? So that's a load of old crap, basically. And, you know, he couldn't defend it. And he was asked today, Boris Johnson, House of Commons, when is it going to get rectified? And will you find all this stuff? And he basically said, I don't know. That's the Prime Minister. I don't know. I don't know. Boris Johnson don't know much about anything, really. He's quite good at riding a bike 7 miles from his house, though, and tell us all we must stay in and stay local. Cindy. Hello, Cindy. Evening, Clint. Looking forward to tonight's show. Thank you very much. Gemma says he's self-isolation because no one likes him, not because of COVID. yeah. Matt Cock is self-isolating because no one likes him. Priti Patel will be there very soon as well, I think. Gemma says, wonder how many of the criminals who have had their records accidentally wiped were MPs. I wonder that as well. We shouldn't live in such society to think such things, but do we live in a society that's real? No. Of course, we are skirting around. I've told you about that. I've told you about that. I'm just going through my list here. Oh, yeah, this one. Oh, this old chestnut. Let's put this out the bag. I'm astounded. This is the 3rd lockdown, and we've been in lockdown a couple of weeks or whatever now, and potentially we're going to be in lockdown for potentially the rest of this month and pretty much most of next month and probably some of March. Maybe they are talking about maybe coming out in March, and then we go into a tier structure. It'll all be tiers anyway for all of us, whichever way. I know everyone is very fed up in relation to not being able to go anywhere, do anything, not go to shops. We feel strangled in a way, and I know it is all for the good. So they're telling us because they really care about us, apparently. But you know, the shocking thing is, I just want to read this to you that somebody sent me, because it really does put things in perspective. This is a tweet from Gareth Ike. Listen to this, and I hope you're sitting down. I think we've had 4.5 million people now, or nearly, vaccinated. But there is another 4.5 million people in the UK are now on the NHS waiting list after cancelled treatments and screenings. And a lot of these people will be in life and death scenarios. And 70,000 UK households, 70,000 UK households are made homeless in the last 10 months. And then he says, tell me how this is about health. I completely agree with you. How is that about health? Do you know what I mean? We're here. Basically, the government should be here to help us. And they're saying we're doing everything we can. We're doing everything we can. We're here for you. We're here to save you. We're here to do this. We're here to do that. You stay at home. You wash your hands. You don't go out, and you open your windows. In the middle of winter, open your windows, let the air vent. I don't like being treated with contempt. And I take a very dim view of people that lie to me, I'll tell you. And in my opinion, this is one huge, massive screw up, basically. What else? Gemma says, how much do they get? How much do they have to get wrong before any of them get a sack? Yeah. Well, there's nobody accountable for anything, is there? Because it's a bit like the Pfizer, it's a bit like, not the Pfizer vaccine, but all the vaccine companies, all the vaccines are put out there. There's no comparability with them. In other words, you know, if anything happens, nothing comes back to the pharma companies. So they're not going to be fined. Nobody's going to go to prison or anything. So this is horrendous. Do you know what I mean? Beyond belief. And, you know, in amongst all this, why I'm talking about this, because today, apparently, we're in lockdown. And lockdown's supposed to work. But apparently today, UK deaths soared to new heights as 1,820 are killed by the virus. The UK has seen another record high number of COVID-19 deaths, with 1,820 reported in the last 24 hours. I'd like to know if they're all COVID, because I've got question marks about that. A number of new cases have also gone up by 38,905 after falling in each of the 4 days. There have now been 93,290 deaths since the pandemic began, according to the government's official death toll, with 8,523 in the last 7 days alone. Again, I'd like to have that. People that are dying of breast cancer, where are the people that are dying of cancer, where are the people dying heart disease, where are the stroke victims? Are they all just automatically getting COVID written on their death certificates? Because that is going on to a degree. But my question is, and I ask this question every week, every show, if we are having this horrendous death toll, what are we doing? Because something's not right. There's something not right. If we're in a supposed pandemic and we're indoors and we're in COVID, how are all these people dying? Richard Gardner, Apollo, hello, good evening to you, young man. Gemma Brooks says many of those deaths are preventable. Yes, they probably are. And that comes down to the 4.5 million people waiting on a NHS waiting list, which Gemma was on the show only a couple of weeks ago, talking about her own personal circumstances of waiting for appointments and all sorts. There is something drastically wrong. The NHS is broken. It has been for a very long time. I'm not condoning anything that the people do. I think they all do an amazing job. I think nurses, doctors, everyone that's involved, and everybody out there, all the heroes. That apparently everyone's going to go out and clap tomorrow night again, which they didn't last week. All these people, I have enormous respect in what they're doing, but there's something not right. I smell a rat here. It's not right. How can our death certificate, how can our deaths go up when we're all indoors? No, I know we're not all indoors because we do go out, but we haven't got shops open. We're not allowed to go to big music venues. We're not allowed to go to football. We're not allowed to do this. We're not allowed to do that. You've got to stay at home. And you know, if you are out there, we're going to fine you. And they found thousands and thousands of people already, 200 quid for being outside, and they shouldn't be outside. Gemma says also allowing everyone in. I agree. So there's something not right. And I feel very strongly that this is down to the fact that there's something wrong here, big time, and has been for a very long time. And yeah, Gemma says flu appears to have been cured this year. Well, if you go on Worldometer now, I know some people might say, well, why are you talking about Worldometer? Because it's an accurate description of so far this year, the amount of people that have, well, it's statistics. It's called worldometers.info, and it gives you an up-to-date figure on people that have died this year. And actually in there we have got illnesses and things like that. There's no coronavirus section as such, but it's got in there that so far this year 614. You've got to remember there's other things on here that's even more worrying this year. Which, how many weeks? We're only on the 20th of January. Look, the 20th of January, we are 20 days into a new year. This is year statistics so far. We have had in the world 58,203 suicides so far this year in the world, not just this country. In 20 days, 58,203 people are not here this year alone. That is an absolutely frightening statistic, and that goes without, as we spoke about many times, the amount of people that that are suffering mental abuse, torture, physical abuse, all manner of different abuses, and mental torture within inside themselves. What are the government doing about that? But just give one more statistic on here, and I know it's not prevalent to COVID, but this is daily, not so far this year. This is today. So far, 24,938 people have died of hunger. So let's put things in a little bit of perspective here. Do you know what I mean? It's very sad everyone dies, but as I said before, we live, we die, and to a degree, we do what we do when we're here, and then when it's not time to not be here, then we go somewhere else. And if nobody died, then we would be on top of each other, and we would all starve because there would be no food or anything. So it's a natural progression, nature in itself. If you want to discuss anything I've spoken about so far, COVID or anything like that, please do interact with me. 07403 436 942, or text same number 07403 436 942, or Facebook message me at Clint Denyer, Twitter at Clint Denyer, or WhatsApp me at Clint Denyer. And we've been told, and this again is sensationalized reporting in a newspaper. Britain battling floody nightmare. Sandbanks at dawn for killer storm. Storm Christopher is heaping misery on the UK with potential floods, snow, and 60-mile-an-hour gales on the way. And the Met Health has issued a danger to life. So not only have we got COVID, not only have we got all the other things around the world, but we now got a storm that's a danger to us as well. So if you go out, you've got to be very careful. Make sure you got wellies on and don't put an umbrella up or you'll blow away. Not talking about him again. Matt Cock, I've had enough of him. As I said before, it is easing. Apparently, the regulation is going to be eased in March, supposedly. But where do we sit with this? Are they going to then say, well, there's this new strain, and this new strain actually is far more deadly than anything before, so we've all got to stay in again? Are we going to go in lockdown, out lockdown, in, out, in, out, in, out, shake it all about, innit? That's what it's all about, innit? I'm not, it's just got silly, really silly. And Gemma's absolutely right, and yet they still build on floodplains. Well, that's the greed of society, greed of builders, greed of people that want to sell land or buy land or whatever. I'm going to change tack again now, because I think, and looking at holidays is a bit of a strange thing to look at, but I want to bring a bit of humour, a bit light-hearted banter into what we're talking about. because it is about finding positivity in this absolutely gloomy tunnel we sit in. Thank God there's so many of us that shine light in that tunnel, I tell you. Shazatra says it will be said that the flu disappeared as everyone is now having the flu jab. That would encourage more to have the C jab. Look up on the government website and read the 3 variants of the jabs, 2 of which hold more than 1 dose in the vial. Overdosing will happen, and it already is. Yes, I agree. You're completely right. And yeah, Gemma says, what happens when the country's bankrupt? Because it will be, because you have got people. This is why I'm saying there's a war coming, because you've got a suppressed people here, a suppressed people that are being suppressed of liberty, their civil liberties, and going about their everyday life and whatever they do, taken away from them. They're then told they must be like this, and they must do this, and they must do that, and you must have vaccine because it meant. And the people that I've seen, scary people I've seen that are standing there saying, I'm really looking forward to this jab. I can't wait. I mean, it's going to be great when I've had this jab. What they don't realize is that they're getting 1 jab. Now, the WHO, not the band, substitute and all that, but the World Health Organization stipulates and states that there has to be 2 jabs. Now, I mentioned this on the show many times before, and they blatantly told you in front of your eyes when you watched a press conference, is the fact that you're not going to get the second one when you're told. You're going to get it when they think you're going to have it, and it could be different. So you could have a Pfizer vaccine, and then you could have something else. You could have a whatever else vaccine. You know what I mean? Because it might not be the same. None of it's proven against any viral, any strong viruses that stem or hybrid from what coronavirus is. Look, I want to one thing that baffles me, and has baffled me for a long time. I'm whatever age, I'm not, and for years we've had flu, seasonal flu. We've had it every year. Now, I know a lot of people say this is different, Clint, it's worse and everything. I can understand that to a degree. But it comes down to what we are inside ourselves to combat it. And unfortunately, if we're being lied to on a scale beyond belief, which I feel we are, in my opinion, how can that sit comfortably within inside ourselves? And what they're doing is striking fear everywhere. Everyone's like, oh, it's wonderful, we get this jab and everything's going to be fine. What about when you've all had your jabs, or the people that want it, and then they turn around and say, well, you're going lockdown again? But we've all had a jab. No, it doesn't matter. You've got to go lockdown because you might actually spread it. Because they don't even know if you still can. And they don't even know if it's actually can combat any mutant strains of COVID. And what you've got to understand, for years and years and years, we've had all sorts of viruses. What happened with bird flu? We didn't have all this. And what happened, with all the different things, Ebola, which I know I said wrong, and even foot and mouth, cow disease, not that long ago. Why didn't they get a vaccine to inject all the cows? Why didn't they miraculously develop something? No, they didn't do that. They killed millions of them. And today, so far this year, we've got a colossal amount of people in the world died of cancer. We all carry cancer. And obviously it can be sparked by all sorts of different things. But why aren't we putting as much effort into the things that we should be putting into? Why does it need something like coronavirus to come along for the National Health Service to wake up? Do you know what I mean? And they haven't really woke up at all, to be honest. It's a badly run institution. It always has been. And going back to Gemma Brooks saying what happens when the country is bankrupt. Well, we are heading for a world, unfortunately, and I sort of see it in the future, a long way in the future, where there won't be people working. There won't be any jobs for people to do. There won't be jobs for people to do because it's going to be all automated, all going to be robotic, all going to be AI, and you won't be doing anything. There won't be nothing for you to do at all. Just menial bits and pieces, really. And that world is one where, you know, it's not far away from where we sit right now, because we are at the moment being run by computers. I'm talking to you one on right now. And, you know, we are evolving at a very, very fast pace. And they also already have the technology. I've seen it. They've got in Japan, they've got, and in America, they have guard dogs, robotic guard dogs go out and actually film you and what you're doing, and send alerts back. I've seen robots that look like humans on television. And where are we? What are we doing? Are we, you know, are we roaming into Terminator country? Do you know what I mean? Matthew John says every country is bankrupt. Every country is in bankruptcy, has been since 1933. They all are. Yeah, I agree. Shaz Actual, sorry, Gemma says when the restrictions aren't lifted after everyone is vaccinated, then there will be an uprising. I feel what we've got here is potentially a very toxic mix. And Matthew John mentioned that. I know Matthew John as a Spirit Unity Network, and he's on the show on Sunday, by the way. I'm really looking forward to that, talking about that and talking about the plans of what he's doing and all sorts. And he talks about unity, and he talks about community and that, and it is important. It is important that we have to come together here somewhere, because we can't be fragmented, because fragmented, we all can be quite weak when we're together as one. A bit like what happened way back with, they brought poll tax out, and then there's a massive uprising against it. So it weren't just lots of splinter people. There was thousands of people against it, and then they worried, and then they had to do something about it. They push us to the limit. These are psychopathic charlatans that you have in Parliament, and they're not a representation of any of us. They're just a representation of greed, lust, wealth, paedophilia, gun running, prostitution, and drug taking. A bit like the Vatican, in a way. Shaz says possibly they are killing off the NHS, Gemma. Where is the 300 million a week for the NHS promised because of Brexit? That was the famous thing that Boris, the buffoon Boris, had on the side of his bus, which is all a complete lie. And you're going to find Brexit is going to be a complete lie. Everything's a complete lie. And I don't feel you can trust any of it. Now, I know Matthew John, when I spoke to him before, I spoke about the fact that you shouldn't really take notice of it or anything. I understand that. But the fact is, I do feel that to be warned is to be forearmed, basically. And there is a ramping up here, certainly in relation to looking at the white flag. It's going to be great because the vaccine is going to be fantastic. But it surely isn't, believe me. Yeah. Gemma says robotic dogs are sinister. Yes, they are. The future is AI. That's where we're going. That's not going to be. There is going to be no governments eventually. There won't be governments. There'll be centralized computers. Gemma Brooks says Brexit. Yeah. Matthew John says, has anyone seen Q? Sorry, but called that one from the start. The same as I said, Corona was all in the mind. Yeah, I agree. Completely agree. And when COVID came out, and you must remember that there is enormous amount of misinformation going on. We are in a sort of fourth right era where people in power think they can do what they like with us. I mean, if you look how cocksure Matt Cock is, he feels he's got everyone just under his thumb. Little does he know we're all biting his bollocks. Do you know what I mean? Because he's a liar, and I feel as they all are, unfortunately. So, if you want to carry on talking about COVID, please do. Please call 07403 436 942 or text 07403 436 942. Any view, don't have to be my view, doesn't have to be what I'm saying at all. Or Facebook message me, Clint Daniel, or Twitter me at Clint Daniel, or WhatsApp me at Clint Daniel. I want to change tack here a little bit. I want to go off subject of COVID because I don't want the whole show to be about COVID. I want to bring some light-hearted banter into it as well. I want to bring some education factor into this as well. Gemma says, what about Germany announcing they would be locking people up in camps? Well, I have read that myself. And if you go to America, they got FEMA camps already there, all empty. They got huge lines of railroad trucks, all with shackles all in on the sides, all waiting. What are they all waiting for? You know, are they all waiting for somebody to flick a switch or say something or round people up? Are we going to be like what the Nazis did in Poland? Do you know what I mean? It's horrendous. It really is, and only they know, supposedly. And Gemma says, saw that in a newspaper, Germany has form. Yeah, they do. But it's interesting. We're going to talk about Liechtenstein very shortly, because I want to bring a bit of light relief to this show. It's not always going to be talking about COVID. I want to bring other things into it as well. I want to bring light-hearted things as well. And obviously, I mean, you know, none of us can have a holiday because we're not allowed to go anywhere. And we will come to a point that we will have probably a COVID vaccine passport. I won't have one, so I probably won't never ever go abroad. But if that comes to it, I do feel the civil liberties is lying down here. Where is the people that work for Liberty and all the other companies? Where are the people that stand up for us? Where are the people saying, hang on a minute, I want to see proof of this. Hang on, I want to know this. I want to know that. Why is no one doing that? Gemma says Liechtenstein is Frankenstein's lesser known German cousin. yeah, absolutely. But I've got loads and loads of things to talk about here, but I want to bring some light-hearted stuff in. And there is, when we can, there is some wellness holidays that we can go on, which are very, very different to what we've ever been on before, and they're quite funny, some of them, to be honest. And I just thought I want to share some of this with you. And if you want to relax and unwind, you want to look at best animal therapy, move over goat yoga, apparently, to cow cuddling. Cow cuddling is the latest way to relieve stress and enhance wellness. Get into a good mood at the, I'm going to try and pronounce this right, at the Kazja Hoev dairy farm in the tiny village of Beets, Beets, some 40 minutes from Amsterdam. Farmers, Els and Gerard Millarts, have been running sessions for nearly 30 years. 30 years. They also run a B&B, so you can sleep over after your utterly relaxing session. Stay the night and join the family farming, or simply relax and use it as a base for exploring and having loads more cow hugs. Gemma says, by the time I get to go on holiday, it would be a saga one. We have to stay optimistic and we have to stay open to this. Do you know what I mean? I'm just trying to bring a bit of light relief. And if that's not enough, you don't want to go there and do that. That's hugging cows, and you can do it. Look, there's a guy there doing it right there. Look, having a nice little cuddle with a cow. Look. If you don't want to do that, there's other things. You can embrace your nakedness on a clothes-free retreat in Italy. Naked, the retreat is no haven for hedonistics. This is a serious stuff, including 10 days of yoga, dance, meditation, and bodywork, all in the buff. The aim is to promote inner freedom, and while the nakedness might be a leap for many, the stunning surroundings of the Tuscan countryside in summer will ensure you are not too chilly while you chill. What about that? Go meditating on all sorts at the naked retreat in Italy. What about that? Another one here. The ultimate room with a view involves a quite bonkers solution. Remove all the walls and ceiling. The zero real estate started in one stunning location in the Swiss Alps, but in 2020, another 6 opening locations dotted around eastern Switzerland and of all places, Liechtenstein. The rooms consist of nothing more than a seriously comfortable double bed, complete with a nightstand and lights, all set on a wooden platform. And you also get your own private butler who will look after you and bring you breakfast in bed each morning. Now, new locations are all over the place on that as well. But this is your room, right? This is really interesting. Look at this for a room. If I can bring it down a bit. Oh, you can't see it properly, but it's literally just a bed on a platform. Yeah, Gemma says make sure you take plenty of sun cream to the naked retreat. And Kate Francesca says only if it's warm. Absolutely. What else is on here? I'll do one more here. Best underwater museum. You need to be able to scuba dive, but the rewards are worth it. Just off the coast of Greek island, hidden 24 meters below sea level, lies a 2,000-year-old merchant vessel. In August last year, opened to the public, having previously only been accessible to archaeologists. Diving into this museum is an absolutely amazing experience, apparently. Well, there you go. I just thought I'd bring that out because I thought it was interesting. Gemma says room with a moo at the cow cuddling farm. Shazadril says I am thankful I live a life that I do not need a holiday from. That is fantastic, Shaz. And I know Shaz is very, very busy, as we all are, with nature itself. We should always be involved in nature. Still moving away from COVID. I'm giving that a bit of a wide berth at the moment. But anyone, if you have anything to say, or if anything you want to interact, or you have anything to say, you want to connect, you can ring my number. It's on the screen, 07403 436 942, or you can text same number, 07403 436 942, or Facebook message me, or Twitter, or you can WhatsApp as well. So, you know, all of those are open to you if you want to make any comments at all. Carry on the news away from COVID at this moment in time. This is Sharon Osbourne has admitted that she wants to return from the dead as a kinky ghost. The reality TV queen revealed she would love to be a poltergeist and screw with people and even undress them. Sharon's 68. I can't believe people actually write this stuff. There is a whole list of people this long. It would be fun. Come on, I would love it, she says. And I can imagine she would actually as well. Now, seriously, getting on a serious note here. Gemma Brooks says, carrier pigeon smoke signals. Yes. Apparently, this is the headline. Dinosaurs lying in wait on the moon. Interesting proposition. Dinosaurs may have beaten humans to the moon by a few million years, with their remains also on Mars. Interesting, Mars. Every time I think of Mars, I think of Elon Musk, because Elon Musk is wanting to build colonies on the moon and Mars, and he wants to do that over the course of the next few years, basically. And they are talking about that we are going to have colonies on the moon and Mars. But apparently, what they don't tell you is that they're already. So he's a bit late. The reptile's bones and DNA are likely to have travelled into outer space on the debris from the asteroid that wiped them out. If that apparently happened, did an asteroid really come down and kill off all the dinosaurs? Or did they just escape back into the womb of the Earth? Who knows? Scientist Peter Brennan, which actually is no age, so we don't know how old he is, said a rock larger than Mount Everest hit planet Earth, traveling 20 times faster than a bullet. And the asteroid itself was so large that even at the moment impact, the top of it would have still towered more than a mile above the cruising altitude of a 747. So Mr. Brennan also explains that the object that hit Earth 66 million years ago was going so fast that as the asteroid collided with the Earth in the sky above it, where there should have been air, the rock had punched a hole in outer space vacuum in the atmosphere. Well, there you go. He probably knows more about it than I do, to be honest. But Gemma Brooks says, a Mars a day, how she work, rest and play. And she says, maybe they were dragons. Well, I think there was dragons on this Earth, definitely. There is another story here, still moving away from COVID at the moment. An eerie house has been put up for sale with the owner buried in the garden. So the person that owned the house is actually buried in the garden, not in a cemetery. Potential buyers are warned that the last man who lived there wanted to be laid to rest in the backyard. An estate agent said he was born there and had lived there his whole life in the terrace in Middleton in Leeds. On Zoopla, a description reads, "Please be aware the property is being sold by family members as part of a relative's estate. It was a deceased's witness to be buried in the garden as he was born and died in the house. This wish has now been carried out. The property is now on the market." They are unusual, different. That's what this is about. We're going to get through these. Talk about corporability. McDonald's fan David Seitz has created a Big Mac flavored vape. He spent months perfecting the recipe after struggling to get his favorite takeaway in lockdown. His eureka moment came at the 25th attempt. Software developer said, "I've had so many McDonald's over the years, I knew exactly what taste I was looking for. Sort of a Thousand Island dressing with a beefy undertone. The first attempt was awful, so I binned it, but I kept trying and finally got there." It's interesting they haven't put his age on there either. But have you ever seen Super Size Me? If you haven't, you want to watch it. Super Size Me is about a man that does nothing but eat McDonald's for, I think, 30 days, something like that, or maybe 3 months. And what he does also is he stores in jars, glass jars, the burgers as well, not the ones he eats, but the other ones that he buys. And you notice after 30 days, 3 months or whatever, they don't deteriorate. They don't, they don't get fungus or anything on them. They just stay as they are. And apparently the chips themselves do not disintegrate inside the cells, to stay there for a very, 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 very long time. And of course, McDonald's is everywhere. And that's one of the reasons why they went to Afghanistan and Iraq and everything else. Interesting headlines this week in relation to Little Green Men, that they want to call it. Britain's first bid to track down ET will listen for sounds from an alien industry or mining. Other signs, such as noises from spacecraft, will also be searched for by a super long distance radar. Current equipment in the SETI program, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, which I feel is an absolute cover, mostly US based and designed to detect radio signals. And there was something reported that was heard from a distant galaxy, a long way away. But nobody's ever talked about it. Surprise, surprise. The multi-million-pound UK project would be paid for by sponsors and crowdfunding. The East Anglia Astrological Research Organization, or EAARO, ERO, is calling it Irokaba, after a telescope. So they're looking for life. Gemma Brooks says, "I haven't seen Supersized Me. Yes, I own a full-length mirror." Yeah. Yeah. Oh dear. So don't forget, you can ring in at any point that you want, and ringing in is 07403 436 942. Or you can text me on that number as well, 07403 436 942. Or you can Facebook message me, or you can Twitter or WhatsApp me as well. Just going back to COVID for 1 minute. We have got Boris. They come out with these absolutely fear porn headlines, which are there to shock everyone and to shock you, so you worry, so you're worried about going out, worried about everything. Boris warns, Boris does, more people will die on UK's deadliest day of the pandemic. Another word for pandemic is epidemic. And he said there will be more to come after the UK report the highest number of deaths. Speaking of Down Street, the PM said these figures are appalling, and of course, if we think of the suffering that each of these deaths represents to their family and their friends, I've got to tell you there will be more to come, because what we're seeing as a result of a wave of the new variant that we saw just for Christmas on December the 18th or thereabouts. That's what he says. Well, when that new variant came out, they actually knew about it in September. So he's lying through his teeth. So, come on, don't treat me with contempt. Gemma says pandemic. You're absolutely right. It is a pandemic. Get through a few of these. This is an interesting one. A telly show. I'm sure everyone will want to watch this. A telly show about Boris Johnson's first year in Downing Street is set to feature his love child. The BBC drama called The Sceptred Isle, will reveal the PM's his personal battle with COVID-19, as well as how he led the country's fight against the deadly virus. It is also expected to show Mr. Johnson's 11-year-old daughter, Stephanie, by former mistress, art consultant Helen McIntyre, which is making the show. There are rare moments in the history when leaders find their private lives uniquely connected to national events. And the last few months in the life of Prime Minister mark one of those moments. We are passionate about finding powerful and authentic stories. Powerful and authentic stories. And it's a story about Boris Johnson. Powerful. Yeah, how many has he got? Oh, I totally agree. Boris, I can't keep it in my trousers. Here's another one here. A town has become the world's high-tech shopping capital due to its army of home delivering robots. Oh, I'm telling you, AI is coming in everywhere. You've seen it. There won't be police on the streets. There'll be robots. This is more than 40 outlets in Milton Keynes, Buckinghamshire, are using the robots to drop off everything from groceries to fish and chips. They travel at 4 miles an hour and can navigate by using of cameras, radar, sensors, and location mapping software. Customers who pay a £1 fee for the service launched by the US firm Starship Technologies can track deliveries and then use an app to unlock the device. The machines drop off orders on the doorstep and even wish customers a good day. Kerry Shepherd, 42, who is shielding with Crohn's disease, held them a lifeline. And Dion Arshad, 41, used the service to feed her children when she caught COVID. She said, "We got pizza, chips, nuggets, ice cream, and popcorn delivered to the house in about 20 minutes. As lifesaver." I'm really pleased, Dion Arshad, at 41, that you actually fed your children the right food. Pizza, chips, chicken nuggets, ice cream, and popcorn. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Oh, Gemma says, amazingly, considering he looks like he has brushed his hair with a toffee apple. We're talking about Boris. Yes, he doesn't know what a hairbrush is. He's famous. I'm sure he's one of these people that goes to bed and his hair is actually perfect. And he wakes up in the morning and it's a mess. And that's how it stays all day. And when he goes to bed, it all goes down, it all flattens down nice. Do you know what I mean? Shad says, seriously, if this pandemic was as bad as they are trying to make it out to be, would masks be allowed to be thrown on the floor or just put into normal rubbish bins? Really? I see so many blue masks lying on pavement roads, etc. It's dire. So have I, Shaz. So have I. Loads and loads and loads. And not only that, they're thrown in the sea and they're just thrown in the bin. If it's that serious, yes, why haven't we all got special yellow bins like they have in hospital to incinerate? Do you know what I mean? Why? I totally agree with you. Gemma says, do the people who put their noses over the top of the mask not realise their nostrils are connected to their lungs? Oh dear. It's interesting because when the tale of masks was when it first came out, oh no, we don't need to do that. And then, oh yes, we do need to. Well, we're thinking about we need to do that. Oh yes, we do need to do that now. And it will help save us. But there's quite a few people that have been very unwell or in actual fact died from actually wearing a mask because they're out running or they're doing this or doing that. We have a natural system called immune system inside ourselves. And the more we get mollycoddled and the more that we don't go out and see anything, do anything, the more we get, if you like, we don't have limitations to combat anything we get. I do feel that our immune system needs to be strong, so we need to be out there and we need to be doing all sorts of different things. And like I do, is climb trees, fall over, do all sorts of stuff. That wasn't free drinking, by the way. That was actually falling off a tree, and various other things. And you know, our immune systems were okay, and we've had epidemics and God knows what happened in our lifetimes already. You know, I'd like to say, what's so special about this one? And a lot of people say, oh, this is terrible. But, you know, if they made just as bad a fuss about this 7 years ago when we had it bad, or 10 years ago, or 8 years ago, or 9 years ago, you know, where do you start? To start this is starting at a point where, oh, we can use this to utilize people to tell them that this is what they need to do now, because we're going to control them, and we're going to control the mass. The problem is they fear it as well. They fear it because they use the illusion, and it's reverse psychology, that they fool you into thinking they really care, but actually they don't care at all. They say they do, but you know, I'll tell you a little secret. People lie. Unbelievably, isn't it? It's unbelievable. Can you believe that? People do not tell the truth. Can you believe it? I know, it's shocking, absolutely shocking, but they don't. Gemma says there is no mention news about the massive amount of pollution in all the discarded masks are producing, washing up on beaches, etc. Yeah, and you know, sharks and whales and fish and, you know, and birds getting trapped in it. You know, this is the silliest it get is when the government go out to national parks or whatever and start putting them on bears, you know, or start putting them on animals. Do you know what I mean? Oh, you must wear masks, you can get COVID. They've tried a few times to scare people. Oh, your dog's got COVID, or your cat's got COVID. You know, no, it's got flu. You know, so a long time ago I had flu. It wasn't COVID, it's flu, normal flu. You know, because that's what it was. But they say, no, how do you know that? You must isolate for 10 days. We're not going to live in a society where we're never going to get a cold. I can tell you now, it ain't going to happen. In no way. I know it comes as a shock to you. I know it's a shock because, you know, I know out there you think, well, that's it. We're not going to have anything ever again. Well, actually, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. We are, once this is over and everyone's had their needles and everything, if they want them, and hopefully a lot of them don't, and a lot of people say, oh, you're mad, you shouldn't tell people not to do it. I'm not telling people not to do it. I'm telling you it's your choice, because we do still have freedom of choice, supposedly, don't we? Shaz says, if they want to scare people with numbers when they need to broadcast the blue mask wastage. Well, I agree. I completely agree with you, Shaz. It's not just about blue masks. It's about plastic bags. And, you know, don't even get me started on when you go to a supermarket and you buy your food and you have to unravel it and unravel it and unravel it. All the plastic, all the containers, all the boxes, you know, it just fills up your bin. Do you know what I mean? We're supposed to be going green and everything. We had Richard Apollo on here last week talking about it. It's a fact that why aren't we actually doing anything about it? Why aren't we actually saying, no, we're not going to do it like this anymore. Let's actually do something right. They don't do it. They don't want to. Debbie says, I was really poorly with something. I'm sorry to hear that, Debbie. I did get tested positive. There is something going around that can't be dismissed. My mum's nursing home is now in lockdown with 7 residents poorly. My mum's sat are borderline, and they are talking about hospital admission. I'm very sorry to hear that. And I'm in no way not saying there isn't something out there, because there is something out there. But, you know, in relation to what they're actually throwing at people, I think it's very different. I'm very sorry that you're going through that, and I do hope your mum recovers and the residents there as well. Gemma Brooks says gorillas already shown to have tested positive for COVID-19. Hope this doesn't make them extinct. Debbie Jane Harrison says, I don't wear a mask and I won't. I totally agree. Shaz Actual says, Debbie, have they all been given the jab? Well, yeah. And of course, they're working on a program at the moment. They're coming to 70-year-olds very shortly. And I think they're aiming to get everyone, all the 70-year-olds and upwards, all done by the middle of February. Gemma says humans are the only animals that ruin the environment, and they are supposed to live in no other. They are supposed to live in no other thing in nature does that. Absolutely, I agree. Basically, yeah, animals have a certain way of doing things, certain way of knowing things, a certain way of conducting themselves. Humans don't give a shit. Basically, they don't care. They litter. They don't care. You know, I mean, they don't care. Glastonbury Festival, 250,000 people go camp and go to the festival. When they leave, 180,000 tents are still left there. You just leave them behind. Don't take with them. They just use it for the weekend. I just buy that for the weekend, you know. Debbie says, no, my mum don't want it, but it seems they have changed her mind. Gemma says, no one has mentioned if these COVID vaccines cause shedding like flu. No one has mentioned if these COVID vaccines cause shedding like flu, ones allegedly do. Debbie says, no, they haven't had the jab. My mum was adamant, didn't want it, but it seems they've changed their mind. And as Shaz says, I hope she recovers. I really hope she recovers as well, Debbie. I'm very sorry to hear that. And I know that it is top of the agenda for everyone at the moment, COVID, because of what's going on and everything. And obviously, you know, you're seeing lots of people now, thousands of people saying they're positive and all sorts, in COVID tests and all sorts. But, you know, COVID is part of a flu virus. A flu virus is part of the cold family, which means that, you know, we can have a cold, we can have flu, or we can have very bad flu. And obviously, you know, when our immune system, as it is, if we're battling other things and that as well, and we get this, then sometimes obviously that's too much for the immune system to take. I do feel when we come out of this, because there will be, otherwise, if this carries on as it is, we're never going to come out of this. We're always going to wear masks. We're always going to be social distant. And, you know, in 20 years' time, we'll be saying, do you remember the days we used to hug each other? Do you remember the days when we used to have sex before they banned it, basically? Do you remember the days when we could have children? Do you remember the days that we could actually procreate life? But now we're told we can't. Do you know what I mean? Gemma says humans more bothered investing in moving to other planets instead of sorting this one out. Yeah, they are. Yeah, but you know why? Because we're overpopulated. There's too many people living here. And you know, Agenda 21, which I know Matthew spoke about before, which is about depopulating the country, the world by 95%. Debbie says, when I had this so-called virus, it wasn't like the flu. I felt like I was living in a different dimension. Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully, Debbie, you went to a different dimension where you got a lot of healing and come back and then recovered. Shaz says, one test, one case reference number. It is scary. It is dangerous. It is difficult. And I know it's a very difficult time. And I know because we're emotionally based people in humans, that it's very difficult to sometimes connect to the soul that we carry inside, because all of you sign up for this, to be here. All of us, we're all here because we knew it was going to happen, and we're frontline people, and we're here not just to open up people to the sense. This goes beyond COVID. This goes into many other things that are not being discussed that should be or looked at. Debbie says my immune system worked perfectly. My worry is the elderly, like my mum. Yeah, I agree. I completely agree with you. I completely agree. And obviously, you know, I am sure, and again, it's not I'm not going by anything other than speculation of what's been shown, if you like. But a lot of people that have outlying issues and outlying concerns and health issues, when they've had COVID, that's what's on their death certificate. Do you know what I mean? Gemma says, re-signing up for this, I want to cancel my subscription. Sign up for what, Gemma? I hope not the Inview. We're going to move, by all means, if you feel very strongly you want to talk about or feel very strongly about anything I'm talking about, whether it's right or wrong or whatever your views are, you can ring 07403 436 942 or text 07403 436 942. Oh, your lifetime. Yes, we all signed up. We made a soul sacrifice in a way coming here. We all decided it might have been a long decision, but we're all here. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, this is history beyond history, to be honest. Another thing making the news quite heavily this week is Thomas Markle. Thomas Markle, who's making a documentary about his life and his daughter Meghan. It may spark controversy as a personal letter from Duchess Sussex to him is at the centre of High Court privacy battle. This is about the letter that he sent to Meghan that he gave to a newspaper. Apparently, he didn't get paid for it either. I know it's very difficult because families are very difficult. They're not easy. But obviously, for a very long period of her life, was very good with her father. And then something went wrong. Whether that's down to her, him, or wherever, there's something crashed. And we have, in a way, what we've got with what's going on within the royal family. And I use that loosely because they're Germans, basically. They're not really my ruler. You know, the Queen, Prince Philip, all of them, they're all German. They all carry German bloodline. And, you know, they're not a representation of me at all. And I feel that for this country and the whole basis of our understanding of our existence, like you went into a different dimension, Debbie, we need to actually change this in our reality and get rid of a lot of things that we don't need anymore. So shed a load of crap. You know, we have to go through that inside ourselves when we go through things. We're in that time now as a human race, not just individually, of getting rid of things to re-top ourselves up or reconnect. I said to you earlier on, I'm going to tell you about a little known place. I'm going to do this every Wednesday. I hope you find it interesting. Yeah, Gemma says they can fucking you off. Yes. I'm going to give you a little bit of just a brief outline of a country in the world that you may not know about, that nobody hardly ever goes to. Shad says, yes, letting go of a lot of shit. Yes, you're absolutely right. That is inside ourselves, remember, because, you know, deeply spiritual people are going through massive transformations themselves. But, you know, those that are not switched on yet are going through that themselves, because the one thing of actually finding their truth inside themselves is to look at their truth in their reality. If they look at their truth in their reality, then they can start looking at their truth within inside them, because suddenly things merge. Stella says people's immune systems are taking a battering from information overload with all this stress. Yeah, I agree. They completely are. I completely agree. And what I try to do is I try to bring a lightheartedness, because COVID, I think a lot of people are getting very tired of, to be honest, because, you know, it is cramping everyone in so many different ways, not just with the illness itself, but in how we live, what we do, how we conduct ourselves. You know, where we're stuck in little boxes and we can't go anywhere, we can't do anything, we can't, you know, we can't interact socially, we can't actually meet people. And, you know, that's very abnormal for human beings. Do you know what I mean? It's not normal. We like to see people, we like to talk to people, we like interaction. Do you know what I mean? I'm going to talk about a little place that I thought would be a bit fun, you know, looking up unknown places in the world, just to give you a little bit of a history or geography lesson. It's something different, and, you know, we want something different in the world right now. And we're going to be looking at a little place called Liechtenstein, which apparently is Frankenstein's brother, apparently. So Gemma says Liechtenstein. And I'm going to tell you a little about Liechtenstein, which is a little known country that only has did have 85,000 visitors a year. It's an unlikely candidate for this list, since it is right in the middle of Europe. German-speaking Liechtenstein is one of the least traveled countries because it does not have any airport, and it is double landlocked. Now, that's interesting. So it doesn't have an airport, and it's double landlocked. To get there, you need to drive to Austria or Switzerland, the country which invented skiing and accidentally invaded Liechtenstein in 2007. So most visitors don't spend a night there. Liechtenstein hasn't always been at the top of this list, but 2018, 2019 has seen a steep increase in the number of international tourists arrive. Fun facts about Liechtenstein. This tiny country is so fascinating that the list of fun facts never ends. Liechtenstein is one of the safest countries in the world. The last murder was in 2014 due to a dispute between a banking CEO and an employee, but this is very rare. Every year, on National, sorry, slipped down, on National Day, His Serene Highness, Prince Hans Adam II, the head of the state, and his son, His Serene Highness, Hereditary Prince Alios, this is quite good on National Day, invite the residents for a beer in the garden of the Vadaz Castle. The entire country was briefly available to rent in 2011, and surprisingly, it's a producer of 20,000 of work for 20,000 of, sorry, what am I talking about? 20,000, 20% of the world's false teeth. What can you do in Liechtenstein? Well, it's such a tiny place. You can see it all in a day. There are castles, mountains, good food, including Michelin awarded restaurants. The nearest way to fly there or get there, as I said already, you can't fly there because there's no airport. You have to actually go across borders. And it says you'll rub shoulders with ski fanatics escaping the crowds in the Alps and villagers enjoying peacefulness of one of the least touristy countries in Europe. And just to let you know that it hasn't got an enormous amount of people that live there. Not millions and millions and millions. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny country. And this tiny country has roughly a population of, I'm just finding it here, it has a population of 38,749. So not big, but its coronavirus cases in Switzerland, Liechtenstein passed 50,000 mark. Number of COVID cases in Switzerland of 500,000, and Switzerland as well, Liechtenstein, and with 2,260 new infections, and they've had 75 deaths. So that's just a little tiny bit about Liechtenstein. And I just thought I'd tell you it because it's a bit of fun. Do you know what I mean? I'll do one every week. What have we got here? A few comments rolling in. Laughing is the best medicine of all time, and love, of course, absolutely. Laughing is absolutely important. That's why we miss social interaction. And we can laugh at ourselves, but there is a lot of pressure, particularly pressure of stress of reality, bills, food, you name it. And you know, laughing, as you say, is the best medicine, because we must laugh at this situation because it's so ridiculously catastrophic. Bev Keaton says the Saxe-Coburg-Goth family changed their name to Windsor during World War II through fear of retribution. Elizabeth has the bloodline of Vlad the Impaler. True. And Gemma says, if you go to that country, you have to have a substantial meal with that beer in that garden. And Shaz says, I've heard that the castle is in fact a portal. Yes. And Gemma says 38,749, all Boris's children. Yes, he sent them all to Liechtenstein. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Yes, I can see that. I really can. Here's another bit of a bonkers story, to be honest, that you're going to find quite amusing, I think. And don't forget, you can contact me any point. I have a phone here, 07403 436 942, or text us, the same number. A hotel has lost its alcohol license after punters posed for pictures with their pints in their hand and said, what lockdown? I must admit, the one thing I really miss in lockdown is going to a pub and having a beer. And of course, they made that more and more difficult, because they said you must eat a substantial meal, or you must do this, or you can't go there at all. And, you know, we need places to go and people to see and all sorts of things, not just pubs, but theatres, restaurants, all manner of cafes. You know, we need that, and we need to meet people. We need to interact. At least 15 maskless men were crammed into a bar at the Grosvenor House Hotel in Skegness, where they were served pint after pint. Pictures posted to Facebook showed men slumped in their chairs, surrounded by empty pint glasses. They bragged about breaking the rules. Officers attended the hotel on November the 19th, and CCTV showed it had been open and trading on November the 13th, 14th, flouting the national lockdown, which began on the 5th of November. And hunters were asked, do you know there's lockdown on? The only hotel named by police as Mr. Sparks, no age, Mr. Sparks owns the hotel, described it an error of judgment, but police said men were being handed pint after pint by management. Sergeant Kim Ennerbury said, I thought after 29 years in the police, there wasn't a lot left to shock me, but the way in which the venue was operating was awful. Nearly 2 weeks after the November lockdown had started, we found footage of over 15 people in the bar area. And they were being served pint after pint by the owner of the premises, Mr. Sparks. Obviously, this hotel bar should have been closed. People should have not been allowed inside to drink alcohol, but of equal concern was the total lack of social distancing in place. And then when they were asked, they actually said that they didn't know. Over 10 men crammed around a small table drinking and posing for what we think were Facebook posts. These were no face masks being worn by customers or staff. Nothing had to be put in place. Nothing had been put in place to try and prevent the spread of the virus. Mr. Sparks, the owner of the establishment, claimed it was an error of judgment on his part to open the bar, and that is a poor excuse. Well, there you are. What do you think of that? I'm sure it's going on right around the country to a degree. Gemma says, someone ring he's sick of reading. No, I'm fine. It's all fine. Shazatra says, that is why we are closed. So we cannot meet up and discuss and plot and overturn them. It's all history, so they don't want it all to happen again. Lol. Gemma says it's probably stag do. You're probably right. It probably was, to be honest. What Shaz says is a very important point, actually, because, you know, when people, I know we've got social media, we've got the internet, we've got phones, but it's not the same as meeting up. And when people do meet up, they do discuss things and they actually find they have a similar opinion. And when they say that, when they have a similar opinion, they also can plot. Now, plotting is not about plotting to kill anyone or do something, but it's actually having an overview that is actually an equilibrium between each person, which means there's an equality that sits there. So there's something that sits there that's right with everyone. Do you know what I mean? In relation to what people are saying. And we have to have all viewpoints and all sides, if you like. But we have gone so far down a road where we have been let down so badly by people that supposedly are there to help us. And I feel that, you know, so many people are now well and truly educated to a degree in relation to, you know, what's right or what's wrong. It's not difficult, is it? It's really not. So, you know, you can ring in 07403 436. Unbeknown to what Gemma says, ring in, he's sick of reading. I'm not sick of reading. It's just, you know, if you want to ring in, you can ring in. The show is yours. The platform is yours. It's not just about me wittering on all the way through it. It is about having people's points of view and people's ideas, understanding, and in a way, you know, to discuss things, whatever it could be. It could be anything. You could discuss anything you like on here. It's not necessarily about COVID or anything I'm talking about. What else we got in the news? Well, this one here, I'm sure some people will find very interesting. Taking the nick. A lad gets jail to pay for Amazon delivery. Jail bosses refunded £4.49 to a lag who complained when Amazon charged him for delivering goodies to his prison. The jail has taken items off his shopping list, taking the value below the £20 threshold for free delivery. It meant the prisoner was charged £4.49 delivery fee, so the unnamed prisoner was ordered to repay him from his own funds. The inmate moaned was one of 2,450 investigated by the prisons and probation ombudsman last year at the cost of 5.4 million to the taxpayer, and it was one of 7 where authorities were found to have been in the wrong and have to amend the procedures. They included a vegan prisoner who was given soy milk instead of his requested coconut or almond milk, and the jail said it believed his avoidance of soya was a lifestyle rather than a medical choice. But the ombudsman ruled in the inmate's favour, saying a lack of appropriate meals had led to his anxiety levels soaring. Where do we live? What world do we live in? I'm dumbfounded, absolutely dumbfounded. One thing you got to remember in this time, and it is an important fact, is that I say every time, we have to hold the unity of ourselves. So in amongst great shake-ups and great problems, great issues, great concerns, and that can be our environment or what we're going through inside ourselves, and even if we don't feel the density of what's going on around us in our country or the world, we will do, because there will be a vibrational frequency to it, and we're attached to the earth, and we are earthbound people as humans. But it is what we are inside is the key, and what we are inside is the element of everything that we should be. And if you like, it is the engine room of the body we're in. Yes, the body and the brain is very different to the mind and soul that we carry, but this is a crossover point. This is where we sit down, we discuss, we mediate, and we find a point of access where we sit on the same path with each other rather than fighting against each other, because then we find that state of balance, and that is what we need here within inside ourselves. We cannot go running off in all sorts of different directions with this. It is very much about a stability. That stability is very important for all of us. It's important to our, not just our sanity, but the belief in what we are within inside ourselves. And in that belief in what inside we have great humility, great understanding, great respect. As I said before, I respect everyone that works in the NHS, the bin work, the people that collect bins, everyone at the moment, at this moment in time, and the people that are dealing with the terrible things that are happening. But underlying from this, as I said before, we have to then look at a broader picture, because it's not just about the one thing they keep telling us. As Gemma mentioned earlier on, there is no flu this year. Well, there is, obviously, but they're not reporting it, or they're congealing it to coronavirus itself because it's part of the flu family. You don't know what they're doing in relation to their stats. And I mean, Chris Shitty and Mr. Valance standing there, would you trust either of them on a dark night in a dark alleyway? Because they look slightly weird to me, and Chris Whitty looks like he's from another planet anyway, and probably knows Elon Musk quite well, I would imagine. And obviously we're getting every day that more people are coming down with this and all the rest of it. But remember, we are in January, which is renowned. The health service before coronavirus is here, the health service from December right through to February, probably into March, was absolutely inundated with people with flu, all manner of different things. But remember one thing that we're forgetting here, and this is really important. What I said, what was sent to me, Gemma actually sent it to me, was that there is right now something far worse waiting to happen. And this is where we have to get things in perspective, because we have got 4.5 million people right now that have not been treated, screened or scanned or whatever they need to help them. So, and they're on a waiting list, basically. Now, I know that the health service is stretched, but I do believe that I'm sure that list could be accommodated by people that are not actually working at the moment, or are not actually very busy at the moment. I'm not saying they're not, but obviously we're not shown a big picture here. And surely we must rationalize this in a way that makes sense, rather than in the nonsense we sit in. So we've got the Nightingale hospitals, and we've got hospitals everywhere. Why can't we have some hospitals, or even the Nightingale hospitals, to treat people that can be seen, that can have their treatments, have their medication, whatever they need to help them, rather than we lose them? Do you know what I mean? Because that would be sacrilege and shocking. And at the moment, we've got 4.5 million people waiting and no answers because COVID. And everyone, to agree, I'm not making excuses here, but loads of people now use COVID as an excuse for everything. Deliveries, all manner of different things. Because a lot of people aren't working, or working at home. A lot of people, obviously in the construction, all sorts of working. But technically, it has to be one thing or the other here. We're in a lockdown, and like me, you've probably been outside. How dare you go outside? How dare you? Where were you going? How dare you? You went out more than once in a day? Oh my God. Shaz Actual says, once upon a time, I was on the edge of a storm. Now I'm in the eye. So calm and just observing it all and keeping the balance. I agree totally. That's what we have to do, because we are actually over the worst of it. I don't feel it's going to get any worse. It will go to the extremes of curfews and things like that, potentially. But they're going to be very, very wary of how far they push people. Now, because there's a lot of people that are not switched on. There are a lot of people that are very, very, very anxious and very angry and very frustrated because they can't do the things they want to do. And there's a lot of pent up energy there. And the government have to be very careful what they do with these people. Do you know what I mean? Lord Sumption says that some lives are worth less than others. He said this on the BBC programme the other day. Yes, I haven't got that to play, actually, but I would have played that. That's a terrible thing to say, isn't it? That's a lord, probably one of the people that goes into the Lord's, picks up his wallet of 500 quid or 400 quid or whatever, cash expenses for the day. For the day! People have to survive on that for a month. One day, the Lord goes in there. There's an envelope, 400 quid, Lord Sumption. Oh, I'm going straight to the bar. Because, of course, their bars are open. And you can smoke in them. And their beers are 50p a pint. Oh, thank you. Gemma said she sent to me on Twitter. Okay, I will find that. So, there's an unjustness here. And if they're not very careful, what they're trying to do will completely run out of their hands and be like water sifting through their fingers. Because I do feel that people will have enough. Now, it takes a lot for British people to stand up and say that's it. But I do feel we are at that point. The next moves we do in relation to themselves are very important. And above all, they know how distant they are from their people as well. The Conservative government would never rule in this country again for a very long time. But it could be Labour, it could be anyone. In actual fact, Keir Starmer should go and join the Tory party because he wears blue instead of red and doesn't stand up for you or me or anyone else. A government in waiting, they're a government in hand waiting, I would say. There's got to be more backbone and more fibre, and any as Matthew said the other day. I mean, it's all something that's got to change. Basically, we have to get away from the haves and the have-nots to the everyone that has all. Gemma Brooks says the soundbite, and she also says Tony Blair is trying to return. Oh God, Tony Blair. Where did we start with Tony Blair? There's a man that's got blood in his hands. He should be in The Hague. Him and Bush and all his cronies should be in prison. In prison for killing lots of people for nothing. For the fact that weapons of mass destruction didn't exist, that they fabricated and made up. And, he still is on the outside trying to make noises. Because, he's almost like somebody that cannot stand not being there. And he desperately would try everything to worm his way into any crack or any part that he can play in actually anything new that's coming. Because, and I'm surprised he hasn't started his own party, to be honest. But who would vote for him? Who would vote for Tony Blair? Tony Blair would, but I don't think any others would. And, that was a man that was supposed to come and change everything. And all he was another Tory in red clothes. And to be honest, it all comes down to you centre or you right or leftist or whatever. We've got to finish all this rubbish and find something that sits in the middle that we can all connect to in a way. And you're absolutely right. I mentioned it on this show before, or on the other show. Jan Brooks says, in the poor day, Dr. Kelly, who told the truth and perished. Yeah. One of the worst things I ever watched in my life was the Commons Investigation Committee into weapons of mass destruction, where Dr. David Kelly sat on. He was a guy with a beard, and he was sitting with his glasses, a very, very unassuming, very quiet spoken, and he was like a rabbit in headlights. And these people there treated him atrociously. They really ripped into this person, and he must have gone out there absolutely stunned and shocked, to be honest, because he was just trying to do his job, and he was made an scapegoat because he knew much more than he let on. And you know, it's a known fact, and again, it's only my truth in what I know, that that Dr. David Kelly said to his wife, "I'm going to go out and have a walk," which he did from time to time. Obviously, these are the days of not having to go out for walks and social distancing, obviously. And he went out for a walk, and he didn't come back. And his wife went to look for him and found him, and he was found laying dead around some trees. But there was, I can't remember all the story, but there is a very important information that's been lodged about his injuries, which couldn't have been done by himself, and that, you know, he was basically taken out, allegedly taken out. And you know, we've seen it happen many, many times by people. Bev Keaton says Dr. Kelly's suicide. No, definitely not. He had too much to live for, and he wasn't a man that would contemplate. He's a very intellectualized, very clever person. But I feel that it was taken out of his hands that day. And those that did it, not only just those that did it, but those that actually ordered it or actually said, do this. It does happen. You know, President Clinton, when he's in power, in one term, 200 people from his close-knit government body of people, 200 of them died in mysterious circumstances, from falling out of bedroom windows to dying mysteriously in crashes, to taking loads of topping themselves, or suicides, all manner of different things. But clearly it's a murky business. And when you get into that, and you get into where Dr. David Kelly was, which realistically was just a person there seeking the truth, he's made a scapegoat for something. And Tony Blair and all those people should hang their head in shame. I tell you, exactly the same with Princess Diana. They should hang their head in shame. A lot of people knew what was going on there. And obviously, you know, he came over as a person that really cared and all sorts, but he didn't, because he was just interested in his own self. I remember that he's married to Sherry, who is a barrister, very high-flying barrister, earning a vast amount of money. And Tony Blair earned a vast amount of money, public speaking, all sorts, and has started his own foundation, like Mr. Bill Gates. And of course, the one thing always surprises me, that Sherry Blair was Sherry Booth. And Sherry Booth was the daughter of Tony Booth. And for anyone who don't know who Tony Booth was father on Till Death Us Do Part. And, you know, so there's a crossover here from a storyline that the father did and played, and in reality the game they play as well, because you have to look at life as a bit of a game, and you have to look at it that in that game it's a chess game, if you like, and we have to, within it, we have to hold our own self true, in the beliefs we carry inside ourselves. And when programs like this, which give a different viewpoint, where maybe you think, oh, I don't agree with that, or I do agree with that, I mean, or you go away and look at it, or whatever, it's very, very much about education all the time. It is about taking us to a different point. And there needs to be something like this, because yeah, I know you've got Alex Jones, InfoWars, and all sorts of other things out there, but we need something on a base level here, which is literally what the show is, a base level show. I will always come on and speak a truth that I feel is real, in between the weeds of the rubbish they put out there to tell you that, is this right? Is that right? And, you know, in my opinion, we're led by stupid, parasite, psychotic, delusional, not representable, non-caring, and completely self-centered bastards, basically, that don't care. And I do feel that many people have woken up to the fact of that. And this has been going a long time, a long time, not just here with this rabble, if you like, but you know, and I know there's a lot of people out there saying that, you know, in relation that, well, it's all got to change and policy's got to change. It will, and things will change, and you will find that we won't end up having governments and things like that in the end. And it will mean that there have to be a different fairness put out to everyone on the planet that hasn't existed before. Because if we've had so much go on in the background that we've never been told of, and in my years and years and years of investigating, I could sit here and tell you hundreds of things, and in time I will, because I will bring up various things that I know and I have done as I've done this show, but and bring it into a talking point on here. And you know, as things come up, then they're treated with humor and all sorts by the media, you know. And if you knew the truth behind a lot of things that's out there, it's very different to what they portray here. The news all is completely biased in this country and parts of the world as well. But you have got stations like RT News, and you have got Al Jazeera, which actually give a different perspective and a different picture and a different balance. So we don't hear about 12 people blown up in Afghanistan today or whatever, because there's no British people involved in it. So why would we want to know? But the fact is that, shouldn't we have an all-rounded picture of what's going on in the world? When we look at COVID and the amount of people that die, shouldn't we take into consideration also, shouldn't everyone be looking at Worldometer and actually clocking up the fact that, you know, so far this year we've had thousands of deaths in cancer around the world. We've had, as I said already, 28,000 people, 23,000 people that are starved to death today because they ain't got enough food. And all these figures are compiled by reputable companies as well. And interesting, they put on there also the days left to the end of natural gas, and the days left to the end of coal, and the days left to the end of oil. And apparently the days left to the end of oil on this planet, that is the billions of barrels they bring out. We have 42 years left of oil on this planet, and the billions that extracted, we should never be doing it anyway. 42 years, the earth is going to run out of oil. Rises the earth's core and is all on top of the fact that our food chain, our food, our drink, everything is corrupted. The air we breathe is corrupted. And you know, we need facts, figures, we need understanding and balance here from them, because, you know, it's all right, you stay indoors and you stay in your bubble, but have your window open. Why have your window open? Why do you need your window open? It's bloody freezing. Do you know what I mean? But tell us why you need the window open, you know. And obviously in a close environment, and most people are in central heated houses or whatever, and outside it's very cold, so you go from one temperature to another, and then what you do is you get cold, or you go out and it's pouring rain one day and you get very wet, and you come back and you get cold. And you know, the worrying factor of where we sit with everything that's going on is that we're going too nannified. And you know, until COVID was mentioned, which was in 2015, before it hit the big screen here on the world, we had all this before. every year. And we've all had very serious flu and illnesses and all sorts. And we've recovered. If you go back centuries ago, I'm going back in medieval days. These are days where they didn't have central heating. They didn't have any idea what was going on in the world. They didn't have any idea about anything. And the only thing they were told by the powers that be, the lords or ladies or the kings or the queens, was people that went out and told them, that stood in the square and told them what's happening. But did they care about anyone? No, they didn't. And I do feel that the distance that sits here between us and them, and I don't like to use that terminology, like Jeremy Corbyn used to say, the chosen few. And it is literally a chosen few, because they will manipulate society for their own ends. At the same time, they will regress or take away certain portions of your freedom so that they can then watch you suffer. Now, this only carries on so far until we get to a point where we think, I'm not doing this anymore, not playing this game. And as people have come on here and said before, and Matthew's right to a degree, in relation to law should be taught at school. Our rights, our privileges, the Equalities Act, all manner of things, and we've got to get away from the garbage and propaganda that's thrown at us. Watching Piers Morgan on TV this morning, he was almost orgasmically adrenaline in the fact of the jab and everything. He's a paid up member, isn't he? He's paid up to be that person. It's not really what he is, but he's doing it because that's what he's told to do. And it's a bit like, the thousands of journalists that sit within the umbrella of Sky or Rupert Murdoch, that all have to toe a certain line and can't rock the boat. And they do bring in bits and pieces from time to time, but it's very, very rare. And I do feel that they're not all speaking the same language underneath their breath. It's very, very different. So, we are in that time where we have to not be alarmist and not swallow anything that they're telling you as they tell you, but living with your truth of you, because that is what exists, that's real. And that is thing that will get you through this. And not just you, but all those that's connected to you. I'm looking at your friends, your soul groups, all the rest of it. In fact, family, obviously. Because, yes, before COVID was here, what was it before COVID? Brexit. What did Brexit do? Cause division, mass division in the country. Still does. Divided the country like COVID. Divide the country. Divide. That's what it is all the time. And cause destabilization, almost anarchy state, chaos theory. We can't be in that zone. We have to hold our truth. We have to be there for people. We have to educate people. We have to help people if they want to be educated and helped, obviously. If not, then you don't. We're not people that force ourselves on people. I don't force people to listen to this show. And believe me, I don't come on this show because I think I'm some amazing person with an enormous ego, because I don't at all. And everyone that knows me knows I'm not that person. I do this show with humility, and I do this show with understanding, and above all, with great enthusiasm and belief in what I feel, what I understand, what I know in the 40 years I've been working in spirituality, and guided by those to sit on a platform to give a voice. Even if no one talks, it doesn't matter. It's about having a voice, and that voice is important, because, my voice connects with your voices inside. And when all voices are ringing together, then time of change is coming. And I do feel inside time of change is coming. We will not be sitting like we are now in a year's time. It will not happen. things are going to happen this year that's dramatically going to change the landscape in relation to what we know. And I do feel that our situation will improve. I do feel we're going to go through dark night of the soul still a bit, but we will come out and we will conquer this crap that is thrown at us. So yeah, I'm going to save all this other news for Sunday. I hope you've enjoyed tonight, me wittering on. Chaz says, if they were not supported, they would not last. We do have the choice to watch and listen or not. We do need to come back together, accept all views, and learn to love each other again. And appreciate what you're doing, Clint. Well, thank you, Chaz. I'm not doing it. I don't want any pat on the back, and I don't need anything like that. I do feel that it's valid what I do, and I do it because it's a belief inside, and I open that doorway, and it's not because, oh, I must listen to myself, I'm amazing, or anything like that. I'm not interested in that crap. I'm just interested in keeping things real, gluing something down in a place where people can glue to it as well, so it becomes one long glue-like object. Gemma says, I'm going to win the lottery, and she says, I wish. Well, let's hope you do. But you know, we come in the world with nothing, we go out the world with nothing. While we're here, we're having experiences. That's the important factor. It is valid what you do. What you do. It is valid what you do. You're an amazing teacher. Well, thank you. That's very kind. All of you are. Chaz says, it is the truth you speak, and the truth will win. Look, I'm a great believer in truth, and I'm a great believer of positivity. And I speak to people on a constant basis in readings and all sorts, where you're not just helping them with their lives, but you're actually helping them reintroduce, if you like, themselves back to themselves. Because within the fear and the fear mongering and everything else that's going on, it has caused division within individuals. That is in 3D to 5D to 6D or whatever inside. And we have got somebody on the phone. What about that? And I was just going to wrap the show up. What about that? We have somebody on the phone. It's my cousin. Hello, Jason. How are you?
Hello, cousin.
How are you? You are live.
Yes, I know.
You know. Well, that's good. Well, thank you very much for ringing.
That's quite all right, old chap.
How are you doing? You're speaking to us all the way over in Hampshire, aren't you?
Yes, Oakhanger in Hampshire.
Yeah. Have you done any cow hugging over there or anything like that?
No cow hugging. No.
A lot of people are scared of cows, to be honest.
Been doing a lot of diving.
A lot of diving.
Yeah, a car's been diving through the puddles on the way home from work this evening.
All right. So how are you? What do you want to say to the millions that are listening right now? Billions, trillions. Well, it's not just broadcast on Earth; it goes out to the universe.
I was going to say, what other planets are involved?
Wow. Yes.
Well, I would say other things on the transport front when you talk about oil. Now, I remember seeing a Mars World program back in the 80s.
Yeah.
And they were saying that, there's only about so many years left for oil. And that was a bit of a myth.
Yeah.
Because, yes, there's only so much oil we can get out cost effectively. There's 60% of oil down there we can't get out cost effectively. What I mean by that is in porous rock.
Right.
Not actually like pools, you can just suck it up. So they did a couple of ingenious ways you could do it, like send down 2 big electrodes and literally melt it out of the rocks so they can then suck it up.
Wow.
Or 2 huge pipes and send steam down there to melt it out. So that will put the price up of oil and fuel 10, 15-fold.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not.
But aren't we I mean, aren't we a country, because we're an oil producing country, remember, in the North Sea? We tend to forget that at times. So technically oil should be a lot cheaper, really, shouldn't it? But what they say is it's the wrong oil.
Well, apparently it's too crude or whatever that means. I don't know, but it's too thick. So it has to be shipped abroad anyway, because we don't have the refineries or the resources or the money to build massive refineries over here. So it's more cost effective to ship it over to refineries in other countries, for them to ship it back, as in oil in.
That wasn't just in this country. That was a figure over the whole world. 42 years, supposedly.
Yeah. Do you know where here's a question for you. If you don't know it, you won't get it right. Okay. Which country is the biggest exporter of petrol?
That's a very interesting question.
You know, notice I didn't say oil. I said petrol.
Do you know what? I probably do know, but I've forgotten.
Venezuela.
Sorry?
Venezuela,
yeah. That's right. When there were all the ructions there, they were talking about that, yeah. Gemma says she loved Tomorrow's World. It was on before she watched El Dorado.
Oh, El Dorado, God, BBC One soap. What a load of tosh that was.
I know. And she says, where I live, we have a mobile chip van, and I kid you not, it runs on used chip fat. It smells nice when it drives past.
Well, people do that. But you know what you were saying about fuel and that, and we got electric cars. For me, that we're going the wrong way, because there is nothing wrong with the cars that we already have.
But
now, don't need to go electric. Yes, we need oil as far as, you know, to go in the engine sump and that sort of thing. But you get fully synthetic oil now. You can produce it. It's no problem. Now, the fuel, they've even done it. You've got to look on YouTube. Guy's done it on his motorbike.
Yeah.
They can run on water.
Yeah.
Not literally.
Well, we shouldn't be using it. We shouldn't be using oil, gas, or coal, or anything, because Nikola Tesla had an answer for all of it, for every house.
Well, that's right. But at the moment, I'm talking about cars, what we already have.
Yeah.
And fuel. Now, you can run them on water, but not literally on water. You have a tank of water, and the engine runs on hydrogen, which is extracted from that water into the engine.
Yeah.
And they can run more efficiently, and they have far less emissions, exhaust emissions. And the technology's been there for years. We've heard for years and years and years. When we were kids, you know, people who develop engines.
Yeah, these hybrid cars are not new. You know that yourself. They're not new at all. This concept's been there for a very long time. But the way it's going is there ain't going to be cars on the ground. There are going to be cars in the air.
Oh, crikey. You can imagine the drunk drivers then, can't you?
That is something that I feel will be in the next 15 years. We'll have cars in the air that be and self-driving as well, so you won't need to drive them.
I think before that happens, we will develop teleportation by then.
That is something that is going to happen, apparently, by Elon Musk. He says that that is something that is one of his plans, to everyone have teleportation devices in their house, which means you won't need to use anything. Because they have all that technology now.
Well, do we?
Yeah. 1949, there was something called Chromovision that was developed in America. Very top secret, but it was literally like a sort of very rudimentary Stargate, if you like, you go through, and you can go past, present, and future.
Right.
And then that developed into something much bigger, and into what they have now, which is called jump gates.
Well, I haven't heard of that, but
yeah.
I know there's been something going on in Area 51. and it isn't what most people think. You know, we've had this discussion.
Yeah, many times. Yeah.
You know, this alien thing and spaceships and that is just a fun. What better way of hiding something is than to put something out, a myth out there that people can get hold of.
Oh yeah, it's massive propaganda by the military in regards to alien life.
Something totally different going on.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't put it past it. You know, some wouldn't say Stargate such thing, but there is some. I think, well, personally, I think it's. You mentioned his name earlier, Nikola Tesla.
Yeah.
There's some of his works which are being experimented with, and they can actually. Yeah, I do believe that they can actually bend space-time.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to look at everything. I feel completely different to how we view things, because the spaceships, everything is something that can be solid and big, but it can also be small and bend into gaps within the universal dimensions, if you like.
Well, that's it. If you remember when I did Roger Borer a while ago.
I remember Roger Borer. A lot of people won't know who Roger Borer is. I've mentioned him a few times.
Well, I called it the horseshoe effect, where if you get 2 points like the Earth and, say, Alpha Centauri, it's not, it's not too far away.
Yeah.
But it takes what, years to get there. Or let's just say your home planet, Venus.
Yeah.
It takes years to get there. But what you do is you bend space-time so in theory, you're bringing those 2 planets together closer and closer, but not in reality, but they are in, let's say, hyperspace, as it were. And of course, what happens when you push if you had a thin piece of wood and you pushed on both ends, it will bow in the middle.
Yeah, of course it will.
So if you went down that track, down the horseshoe or that bow, it'll take the same amount of time. But if you went across the top of the horseshoe, you can do it simultaneously from one point to the other.
Yeah.
Because remember, I did that on Roger Borer years ago.
You did, absolutely. What a great character he was as well. There's a few comments on here. A few comments I'll talk about. Cindy, listening, says you're providing a platform for many like-minded souls that can listen in and not feel alone in their awareness. That's very true. What else we've got here? Gemma says, years ago, the government encouraged everyone to buy a diesel car. Now they say diesels are bad. Gemma Brooks says, if they keep. And then she says, US in lockdown, us in lockdown much longer, we will have horse and carts. And Shaz says, easy to shoot down when in the air. And Shaz says, beam me up, Scotty. But you know, everything that you've seen in Star Trek, going back to the first Star Trek, right through all the films, you know, what, as you said already, everything they show you, they're showing you because there is an element of it, of reality to it.
Well, yes, I do believe to a degree, because Gene Roddenberry had a vision. And if you've ever seen quite a few of the Star Trek things, you can see all sorts of analogies and that in it.
Yeah.
Even back in the late 60s when that one was made, especially Spock. And yes, we got the flip phone and all that from the communicator and that sort of thing, and tablets from whatever as well. However, yeah, well, they were made to work.
Yeah. Now,
that's where Nikola Tesla was a class above Einstein. Even Einstein said he was the cleverest guy that he knew of.
And of course, he was supposedly, allegedly, he was in contact with advanced civilizations from other worlds.
Yes, but quite possibly. But my point is, Tesla had visions. Well, in other words, he had imagination.
Yeah.
And he dreamt up something, and he put it down, and he made it work.
Yeah.
He didn't discover things by accident, whatever.
No, he tested it, yeah.
And he made it happen.
Yeah.
So he was a visionary as far as that's concerned. He wasn't given a problem or anything like that so much. Well, he was. Edison gave him a problem because Edison couldn't make the light bulb work that he invented. So Tesla made it work, and Edison didn't pay him, did he?
Yeah.
Bastard.
Yeah, well, so, I mean, you know, the sad thing is with Tesla, he ended up in a hotel room and died, and everything was stripped from him.
That's it. He didn't want any money for anything. That's why he got his way, because he wasn't a businessman.
Yeah.
So he just wanted to help the world.
Gemma Brooks says everything in Star Trek: The Next Generation. They have FaceTime, tablets, Alexa. The only thing they can't do is transport us on a nano level.
Well, not as we know it, no.
Yeah.
But that goes back to a lot of things you were saying earlier. It's things that we know, and things we're supposed to know. When you look at the invention of the internet, we didn't know about atrocities going on around the world much at all.
No.
And it's only because of the birth of the internet, everything has opened up.
Well, the world's small, very small.
And the powers that be out there, even to this day, you know, they're still around.
Yeah.
I believe they did not think that how quickly and how powerful the internet was going to become.
But you've got to look at the technology, just in the technology we have, where just the phone you carry, the phone that I'm talking to you on, has more technology than when they sent a rocket supposedly to the moon.
Oh, crikey, you've got to look at your mobile phone. You know, it's far more powerful than computers you had in the 70s and the 80s, and even the 90s for that matter.
Amstrad. You remember the bulky Amstrads?
What about that? Do you remember the old Sinclair Spectrum?
Oh, God, yeah, I do, yeah. Yeah, wait an age for it to start.
Yeah, the old Commodore 64s.
I know, I remember that. Gemma says, I wonder what the Tudors would have made of things like television, cars, and telephones.
Well, Tudors, well, would have been a bit like Catweasel, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Remember that series from Catweasel coming to the future?
Yeah. She said, Gemma says, Commodore 64 had to wait a fortnight for the games to load.
Oh, yeah, in the cassettes. Oh, God, yeah.
They're well sought after now.
Oh, yeah, they're worth a lot of money now.
Yeah.
But it is quite frightening. I mean, we won't be around. Maybe not. But when you look how far computers have come, really, when they first started kicking off, they didn't start kicking off until about 95, 96, when Windows 95 came out.
Yeah.
You know, and then you look at it now, that was 95. So to go into 2015 is what? 20 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're 25 years, or 26 years. You see how far it's come from then to now. What is it going to be like in 100 years from now?
What's it going to be like in our lifetime, in 20 years' time?
Well, 100 years from now.
Yeah.
You look at it now. I mean, it is going to be, well, the film industry would change completely. Well, that's going to happen in the next 10 years, I should think. That's going to change completely, because it's going to be damn sight cheaper to create an actor, an actress, that sort of thing, and put them into movies and give them personas, you know, personalities.
Yeah.
And make them mega stars.
Yeah,
that's not cheaper than it is to hire
I've watched
actresses for 20 or 30 million a film.
I've already watched. I mean, with basically what
we would know the difference.
What Elon Musk is talking about is within 30 years the crossover between human and robot. And there is a robot that, well, there's a lot of robots been invented, but there's a robot that's been invented. It's been out on television. It's been there as facial expression. It thinks for itself. You know, is this Terminator all over again? And Gemma's got a very interesting question for you, Cosbro. Would you consider yourself getting I can't even say the word, cryogenically frozen?
Oh, I would love to be like Buck Rogers, mate, and meet the people he did.
Yeah. But what about if you were frozen and then you were unfrozen in 200 years' time?
I would have to be in a bit better shape than I am now.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that I'm in bad shape, but I need to, I need to be really fit.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. Because waking up somewhere like that, it's almost like a Demolition Man, if you remember that film.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Sty Sloan.
You wake up in the future, and it's going to be totally different, obviously. And I don't. If you were the only one.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Not in the future, because you'd be hounded. You would be all sorts of things would happen to you. Because if there's anything similar now, you'd be world famous. You'd be this. You'd be that. You're in every people's home or some kind of TV or imprinted in people's mind by probes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Implants. You would have implants by then. You won't have TV. You just see it in front of your eyes, But no, I'd rather go back into the past.
Yeah.
For me, I would go back into about 2600 BC, ancient Egypt.
Right. Yeah.
And meet with my, I suppose you could say, probably the man I have the most respect for in ancient history would be Imhotep.
Imhotep, yeah.
Yeah, the builder of the Step Pyramid. Really the guy who started off Egypt, ancient Egypt.
Yeah. Yeah, a fascinating person that not a lot of people know about, actually, as well.
No. They know all about the pharaohs, but they don't know much about him.
No. And he was as powerful as the pharaohs as well.
He was advisor to King Joseph.
Yeah.
And he was also a poet and the first ever physician.
Yeah.
He was doing more. Hippocrates was credited as being, the first modern day sort of doctor. And when you're a nurse or a doctor, you take the Hippocrates code. But it was only about 20 years ago they found out that Imhotep was doing what he was doing. Mind you, Hippocrates, I think, was 300 BC.
Yeah.
Imhotep was doing what he was doing and more, 2600 BC. It's amazing.
It is.
He's the one that started off the embalming. And later on, obviously,
but you have to ask yourself that he probably had, as a lot of them did, helped by other species, if you like, not human.
Well, yeah, jury's out on that one. We don't know. But he was a guy that rose from nothing right up to the advisor. In other words, the second most powerful man in ancient Egypt at the time.
Gemma says Imhotep was pharaoh when Clint was a boy.
When Clint was a boy, yeah.
Another interesting says, because obviously we're talking about robots, and what Elon Musk was talking about that was quite interesting is the fact that he was talking about taking consciousness out of people and gelling it into robots itself. Now, and that is so that robots have the same mannerisms and understanding, and the fact that you would be able to see your dreams through the computer as well. and
there's a difference between consciousness and, you know, another bit awareness. Consciousness and awareness. There's a difference between those and being able to put, you know, someone's brain. Consciousness and awareness is your soul, is your spirit. Once you die, you know, that's gone. You can't keep that into.
Yeah.
But imagine if you did, and you was put in for something like that, you would go stir crazy.
Yeah, well, what they're trying to do is create an immortality, which is what Gemma's saying. Absolutely right. But, you know, there are other uses for robots. And I do believe that the days of actually humans having what we call sexual relationships in the future may be gone, because, you know, we've all watched Del Boy and his blow up dolls and all that. But, you know, we are in a revolutionary state in the sex industry in relation to robots and what they're creating that are realistic, again, with mannerism and everything else, that or machines that you can actually go into in the future. Orgasmatron, yeah. Gemma said she would buy one, but they don't wash up. She also says if you froze yourself, Cosbro, and were defrosted 200 years later, they would consider you primitive and you'd be in a zoo.
Well, I don't know about being in a zoo, but I would certainly be.
You'd maybe be in a living museum.
I would be, yeah. I probably would. That's probably why, like I said, I wouldn't go into the future. I'd go into the past.
Yeah. But you imagine going into the past and you see Imhotep and you turn up and you're holding an Apple tablet and a mobile phone and a lighter and lots of things that we take for granted here that you take back there.
Well, yeah. But, I mean, they used. I'll be quite happy back there. You know, on Saturday nights they used to drink themselves silly. Yeah. We're talking about the middle classes, you know, as well as the upper classes. They used to drink beer, which was more healthy for them.
Honey beer.
Yeah, and it was more healthier for them than drinking water, because the water came from the Nile and had all sorts of bacteria and that sort of thing in it. But through the process of brewing beer, it killed it all.
Yeah. Yeah, honey beer, honey wine. Everything that had honey in it. Gemma says a large market for those sex robots if lockdown becomes a permanent part of our lives.
But you mentioned about the robots. That's going to be a few years, yeah. Yes, they may have the AI, but for the robots I've seen, like you see on Facebook and that sort of thing, you see on these techno programs and that sort of thing, you're nowhere near physically in as much as not looking like us, but being able to move. Yeah.
Have you seen the robot dog that goes out scouring the streets?
Yeah, but when you look at a robot dog, has far less, how do I put it, moving parts to its anatomy.
Yeah.
Than human. You know, when you look at our ankles and our wrists and our knees, the amount of bones, little bones you got on your ankles, you know, so you can move your ankles here, there, and everywhere to keep your balance when you go slightly off without making it exaggerated. And your wrist movements and things like that, they can't do anything like that at the moment. Yeah, they can make robots dance and they can make them intelligent, that sort of thing, but you can't make them actually walk and physically twist and turn, whatever, like what humans can do.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure the day will come when they will cross over into that realm, because, you know, it will be like eventually one day it'd be like Terminator all over again, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well.
And, you know, a century's time, they'll be showing films like the Terminator as a true story of what happened to mankind.
Well, we never know, will we?
Apparently, Gemma says apparently they're going to change the human rights to make it a crime to attack a robot. They are about to call them sentient beings in their own right.
She's obviously seen Mrs. Doubtfire then. No, not Mrs. Doubtfire, the Millennium Man.
Millennium Man, yeah.
Yeah, Robin Williams.
So how are you coping with lockdown and that? Are you, because I know you've been working, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm working. I'm doing a few MOTs, not many. I changed jobs. I got pissed off with Quick Click because they were arseholes. Yeah. I've been with them for 10
I think you should say what you mean.
On a spiritual note, this was strange. Because, yeah, I got so pissed off, I thought, well, I've got to leave, that sort of thing. And I had an interview lined up, right? And I went shopping at Tesco's on a Saturday. And I didn't have the radio on. When I came back, I didn't have the radio on until halfway home. So I put the radio on. And it was the Great Six radio, which is now taken over from the Eagle. Anyway, Great Six. I only played Great Six for the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yeah.
That's all, you know, singles and things like that. And well, this woman rang up and she said, I know you only normally play hits, that sort of thing, but my partner and I, we love this song and we decorate to it. We're decorating and we love it. We play it. And it was a track from ABBA, the album it was called, right. The album, ABBA the album, and it was called Move On.
Okay.
And they played it. And listen to the words of that. I know the song well anyway. But it was all about moving on.
Yeah.
So what bigger sign could it possibly get?
Well, it was a massive sign, wasn't it?
That moment in time, yeah, you know what it's like with me. You're the same as well. Which, you know, it's a sign, sometimes you don't see it. Not necessarily you're slapped in the face like a wet kipper, you know.
Yeah. You're right. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Yeah.
And I did. So I'm now working over basis circus about half an hour. I'm happy.
Well, that's good. And you keep busy and you're doing a few and all sorts. And
I'm doing, well, I'm not doing many MOTs. I'm probably doing about one a day.
Yeah.
As opposed to 11, plus God knows how many retests and that sort of shit. So, yeah. But people, it's still amazing the amount of people driving on the roads.
Oh, there is lots of people out there driving.
They're coming into the garage, you know, with ball tyres, that sort of thing, you know, for the tyre fitters. And we're saying, what the hell are you doing out? Your tyres didn't become bald overnight.
No.
You know, you should not be out. And most of them are in their 70s and 80s and all that sort of thing. Yeah, okay, you may have had the bloody jab, but you still pass it on.
Well, supposedly, yeah.
The jab only stops you getting the symptoms and actually catching it badly, but it doesn't give the bloody...
the jury's all out on all of that, really, because they're supposed to have two.
No, there's got to be another one coming out from Germany, isn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting that Pfizer, that created one of the vaccines, actually also make Viagra.
Yeah. It's probably something simple. You go, you know, some herbal remedy, not even a remedy. If you ate something, whatever, and that, you wouldn't get it.
Yeah.
I thought, well, I tell you what.
Well, I think apple cider probably is a good thing, isn't it?
Well, I did mention that to you, over a year ago when it first started. I thought to myself, right, I'm looking for a Rattler and that in Tesco's, and I thought to myself, I know, maybe if I just pick the phone up, pretend I'm talking to somebody, and say, you know, when there's all these crowds around it during the shopping, yeah, I found the Cornish Rattler. Yeah, you sure that's got the ingredient that actually stops you getting COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've got a dozen bottles and put them in the basket and go off.
Yeah.
And then ring up Healy down in Cornwall and say, right, I want a percentage of your profits.
Absolutely. Well, things happen like that, don't they?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you know, who was the man that first took toilet rolls out of a supermarket, loads of them, and then everyone thought, I'm going to do that as well.
Well, exactly. It's like the first person to get going into the sea, isn't it? No one wants to go in the sea till the first person's gone in, and everybody goes in.
And what do you think about the people that go wild swimming? These are people this time of year, freezing cold, but there was a guy on the radio the other day that said, yeah, I always carry trunks around my car when I'm driving. He's a salesman or something. And he says, if I see a nice bit of water, I stop and put my trunks on and go for a quick swim.
I know what they are. Crazier than us.
Mad. But are they? You know.
Well, yeah, I mean, people, older people, especially with Gran, I mean, she used to swear by it. And, she died, 98, I think. Gran died at 94, 95.
Yeah.
They swore by cold baths.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's the difference?
Richard Gardner, who comes on here from time to time, he was listening earlier on, Apollo, he swears by a cold shower.
Yeah. The only thing is, I mean, it doesn't get you clean that much, does it?
What?
You need a big wall to get, up your pores a little bit, getting the shit and all that out off of you.
Yeah.
Now, I've had cold showers before, because a few years ago when the heating went out halfway through, it started putting the shower on, whatever, and the heating ran out. The gas ran out because of the gas card we had 10 years and years ago. And so I had to get in and have a cold shower. You dry off and all that, you turn your hair and that, you just don't feel clean.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you feel clean or anything like that. So,
yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, to have a cold shower, a cold bath to get clean, to get washed, isn't the same as having a hot one.
No, it isn't, because as you say, it opens up the pores and everything.
No, but what you can do is have a hot shower, get all cleaned up, then turn it to cold.
Yeah.
Freeze your balls off.
Yeah. We're gonna have to close in a minute, but I'm going to ask you a question that I ask many times on this show, in relation to what we are in this epidemic, whatever you want to call it, where we have got the highest numbers again of deaths today. When supposedly we're in lockdown, I know you said there's a lot of people out there and all sorts, but there isn't the big conventions, there isn't people gathering or anything. Nobody is really meeting up with anyone. Can you explain to me? Can you explain to me how everything goes up when we're in lockdown?
Well, supply and demand, isn't it? I mean, demand's not there, so people put things up to try and recoup some kind of extra money back because of the demand isn't there.
But I'm talking about the number of people dying.
Oh, number of people that are dying.
Yeah.
How come that goes up? How come that's going up at the moment?
Yeah.
Well, that's obvious to me. Because if it's supposed to take 28 days or something like that before it really comes out, you only got to look at the Christmas period between Christmas Day and New Year's Day. See, now a few days, which I think we just had, where there was a little bit less, but then we get to New Year's Eve, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. So those results now, because it takes incubation period and all that shit, and then the results to come through and all that sort of crap, is around about 20 to 28 days. And we're at that point now.
Yeah.
But New Year's Eve for that. So that's why it's going up.
Right. Okay. That's interesting.
As far as last weekend is concerned, there's sort of pictures and that people on the beach of Brighton and Hyde Park all gathering, no masks, all that sort of thing. There's thousands of people.
Well, they're telling you don't need to wear a mask outside.
Yeah, but not normally. But if you're in close proximity to people,
yeah.
If you're only a few, 2
I understand what you're saying.
People,
Yeah.
that sort of thing, if you was a load of bunch of you, that sort of thing, you're supposed to, aren't you? That's where they can get it.
Yeah.
But, I know. What can we do? I mean, I can't even go down in my caravan down in Glastonbury.
I know. And you know, the one thing I really miss is going to the pub and having a beer.
Yeah, you know, that's what we're going to do. You know, at some point, when this is sort of semi-over, we're going to come down the caravan, and then we're going to pick you and tie up, and I'm going to celebrate my 60th, which was back last November.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And your birthday.
Yeah.
And down the statues.
Yeah. And ties today.
Ties today, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I wish him happy birthday.
Well, I'm sure that would be one of those Egyptian long festival ceremonies for the last maybe 2 weeks.
Well, yeah, I would definitely go to about 3 o'clock in the morning,
yeah. Well, you've been amazing. Thank you very much for ringing, Cusbro. It's lovely to speak to you.
Yeah, and you. And I'll catch you Sunday, no doubt.
I probably will. Yeah, we've got an interesting lineup of guests on Sunday. And it'd be interesting to see our surprise guest to be on Sunday, but I'm sure he will materialise at some point.
I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
I'm sure he will.
All right. I give my love to Susie, and I'll speak to you very soon.
Yeah, take care, matey. Bye.
Right. Thanks a lot. Bye. Bye. There he is. That's my cousin, all the way over in Hampshire. Lovely bloke. So there we are. We're at the end of the show. It's been an interesting show. My thanks to Cusbro for ringing up. I hope you enjoyed it. It's been an enormous amount of things we spoke about tonight. And don't forget, we come back as normal on Sunday. We missed one last week, but we're back this week. We have got Andrew Hobbs, the poet and spiritual writer, channeler. Amazing guy. Matthew John is on as well, who will come on and talk about Spirit Unity Network. And Louise Love, who's going to be on last week, is coming on this week. And she's going to be talking about different remedies that you can take, different what Earth's medicine is in relation to helping us survive any coughs, colds, and COVID, obviously, as well. So that'd be really, really interesting. That will start at 7 o'clock on Sunday the 24th. So that's Andrew Hobbs, Matthew John, and Louise Love. That will be put out as normal. I hope you really enjoyed it. And Shaz says, did enjoy it, Clint. Can't make Sundays, but Wednesdays are okay. Well, that's fantastic. Well, it's great for you to join us, Shaz. So thank you very much for joining us. And you never know, one of these days might get you on here as well. And she's like, no. You've been great. You've been fantastic. All have a good rest of a few days this week left. I will catch up with you all Sunday and then again next Wednesday. So have a good one out there. Stay safe. Stay warm, stay calm, basically. And I will see you all on Sunday. Thank you very much and good night.